Welcome to this week's feature premiere. We'll be talking about presentation, commentary, March to October, and all things franchise mode. I'm joined by Kirby and Drew, and later I'll be joined by Clayton and Timothy. Kirby and Drew, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing great.
How are you doing?
Happy to be here.
I'm lovely. Can't wait to talk about all of the wonderful things that have been added to the presentation and commentary aspect of the game. So should we just jump right in?
Let's do it.
Yeah, for the facts.
Right. So before we start talking about commentary and presentation, Kirby and Drew, introduce yourselves because we have a lot of new fans who's probably watching this for the first time. How long you been at the studio and what it is exactly you do for the team?
Yeah, my name's Drew Irvin. I'm the game design manager, overseeing a lot of the presentation and commentary. I've been here since 2019, so loving every minute of it.
Nice. Kirby, what about you?
Yeah, my name's Kirby. I've been here now. This is going to be, 23 will be the 12th game that I've worked on, MLB The Show game. So, been doing my whole career here, and I've been largely responsible for the commentary in the game and overseeing those efforts for I think the last 8 years potentially. I think that's right. 8 years.
And you've been leaking legends for the last 6.
I did that one time. And I will never live it. And I'll never live it down.
Legend leaks from Kirby today?
No, you will not. Because
that's unfortunate.
Stephen Haas will not be happy.
Will not be happy. Steven's over here waving his head like, no.
Yeah, he pre-warns me every year about it, and I won't live that one
Well,
down.
let's get right into it. Audio has changed quite a bit in MLB The Show 23. What's changed?
Yeah, I think right off the bat, no pun intended, the bat cracks, the glove pops, all the nuanced sounds that you hear have really gone to the next level. We've been in major league parks. We've been in minor league parks. We went to the MLB scouting combine here at Petco Park, just really picking up like all the different kind of audio that comes from a real life baseball game, and just spent a ton of time to get that down to where whether you're making solid contact or a foul ball, or the first baseman's catching the ball, or you're catching a grounder, like those are all going to sound different.
Or ricochets off of the catcher equipment.
Ricochets, foul tip off the ump's mask. Like we've got sounds for everything you can imagine.
So if you've been playing the tech tests, you've probably noticed some of these sounds, but let's take a second and listen to them. He's out.
The catcher.
He's out. This all sounds fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of work. Just to add on to that too, we also have 30 team chants. We have team chants from all the stadiums. You're going to hear a lot more of the fans getting into the game, and those are location specific. So no matter what stadium you're in, you're going to hear the chants that the fans of each of those teams will be very familiar with. We also recorded a ton of fan yells, so you're going to hear more cheering and jeering from the crowd. And like I mentioned, we were in a lot of real life stadiums capturing these sounds, and just wanted to shout out our audio team led by Kurt and Bandy. They did a great job. Omar, Steve, Austin just killed it this year with all the crowd audio.
Trying to get more variety and more authenticity, right?
The sheer amount of recording that they did this year for all of the sound effects you mentioned, wide range, everything in the game was just immense amount of recording.
So we've talked about audio. Let's jump to animations, but not gameplay animations, presentation animations.
And it was one of our busiest years ever in the motion capture studio. I know I saw you over there a couple times, Ramon. We did a lot of our normal player captures, but we really took it to the next level this year. as you'll see in the Negro League experience, we were in there doing a lot of the presentations that you've mentioned in the past. So for me personally, those were really fun to work on throughout the whole process, from capturing to putting them into the games, and just seeing the moments that Bob Kendrick describes in his videos come to life within those presentations. So that was really special to me, and it was just a fun thing to work on. Beyond that, we just, especially, with Jazz on the cover, we wanted to bring more player emotion into our game. Some of the stuff that you see in real life in Major League Baseball, we just wanted the user to feel that, both, highs and lows. So we captured just a variety of high leverage situations, more walk-off home runs, but also the agony of defeat with the pitcher walking off the field.
So more positive and negative.
Yeah, you're just going to hopefully see that reaction, both, like I said, positive and negative, and really hopefully cap off those big moments that you see with the appropriate reaction from
so
the
is that
from the
just
players.
for players, or is it for teams as well?
Yeah, it's players, it's teams, it's coaches, it's fans, just to try and really match up with what the situation is with how the players are reacting.
So
on the
let's
field.
talk about one of the really cool new things in the presentation realm, this new game stage.
Yeah, so that's the other thing we did. We built a stage where we can kind of pump people up, get them ready, show who the starting lineups are, do-ups. We can create any scene in motion capture and put these players on this stage and kind of flex them, show them off a little bit. So when you pop in your new Diamond Dynasty lineup, you're going to see your players kind of showing off in this stage, and we're excited about it. And there's a lot of fun stuff.
And you're going to see this new audio and animation all over the game. Exhibition, Road to the Show, Franchise Mode, Diamond Dynasty, all over the place, right?
Definitely, yep.
What about from the art side? Any changes to the themes?
Yeah, I mean, I know we got some great feedback in the past from the community about what our art team's been doing the last couple cycles, and honestly, they continue to surprise me even with what they're pumping out, and this year's no different. Theme 1, we've always tried to pump that big game national feel, and we took that a step farther. We even branded a Game of the Week this year, so you'll have Game of the Week branding for the best matchup in season modes of that week. Global Baseball League is what the mini seasons league is called, and we branded that as well to kind of make you feel like you're in a unique
so you have
league.
specific art and presentations just for mini seasons.
Exactly, yep.
Nice.
So that'll be all branded. And then theme 2 is what I'm probably most excited about, honestly. I think the community really enjoyed the team specific stuff that we brought to them, and we took that a step farther. This year we created regional networks for each team, so those will be branded. I'm a Mariners fan, so when I play with the Mariners, it'll say the show Northwest, because it's kind of trying to reenact kind of that regional sports network feel. So we leaned even farther into that. We have tons of elements to back that up. So those are kind of our 2 themes again. City Connect is obviously an exciting thing across baseball right now, so we leaned farther into that. So you actually, now when you choose your City Connect, it also transitions into the OSD, so those will be colored, when you're San Diego, it might be the bright pink that you see when they're wearing their colors, or you just see a lot of that those City Connect uniform stuff fall through in a lot of the other elements.
And we got some new home run animations too, right?
Yeah, people seem to like those as well. So yeah, when you see the home run rounding scenes for both scenes, they're different, and they're really special. Our guy Matt on the 3D artwork has just been killing it, and he had another really fun cycle this year. So.
What about milestones? Like when players hit different milestones, anything new we're going to see that from a presentation aspect?
Yeah, just a bigger payoff. When you're playing modes for a long time and you're hitting these 3,000 hits or 700 home runs, we wanted there to be a little bit bigger of a payoff. So we built OSDs just specifically to pay off those big moments.
And if you watch the game sizzle trailer, you probably noticed something else new: pre-game flyovers.
Yeah, we knew we were missing flyovers, so I think everybody loves a good flyover. So we've got a variety of aircraft that'll get you excited for opening day, All-Star Game, World Series, big moments like that.
What about jumbotrons? Any new animations in jumbotrons?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a while since we updated our jumbotrons. We knew we had a lot of work to do. So we have hundreds of new Jumbotron videos, laser ribbons, the whole. I think it really brings a different feel to the entire stadium with all the great work that our group did there. So just really killed it. with the jumbotrons, and it's pretty fun just to see in the background, and it really makes the stadium feel.
But that's not it.
different.
Like, even is there the notification system for Road to the Show? What's changed there?
Yeah, just you'll see in Road to the Show, there'll be. We kind of just organized it better, right, and put everything in the upper left. It just helps you kind of like have a place to look when you're wondering, what kind of feedback did my player get on that last play.
Mm-hmm.
Just a general place to look instead of having to figure out,
Where
on the
it
screen
is.
to look. So I think it's going to be just one of those things that maybe just makes life simpler for the user to just know where to look.
That sounds great. What about the ticker? Since we're talking about season modes, what about the in-game ticker for Road to the Show and for franchise?
Yeah, our fans seem to love the ticker, especially in season modes, where did a really good job of just bringing the storylines that are happening in your franchise or your March to October onto the ticker. So we've leaned farther into that. We've done a lot with player projections now too. So earlier in the season, we can kind of project how some of the star players are gonna do, and guess who the Cy Young candidates are going to be, or MVP candidates are going to be, and it's just a really fun way to immerse yourself in the storylines of that season mode.
This is going to be music to the season mode players' ears. Kirby, how do you feel about all of these changes to audio, animation, and art when it comes to presentation?
I can't tell you, how impressive it is, honestly, to see some of the things that have come out of the presentation team this year. I mean, and all of those areas. The presentation team, it's a big umbrella, and it covers a lot of different areas of the game. Animation, graphics, audio, a lot of different things, and it's really impressive to see what the team's pulled together this year. I mean, the art stuff that Drew's named off so many things just in the art realm that are just like so well done. Like the art itself is just so well crafted, and it just catches your eye. And in that way, I really think that our presentation looks better than it's ever looked by far. It looks more authentic, professional, and like to the quality of what you would expect to see, and even beyond on like a real broadcast.
Nice. And Drew, what is your favorite new feature when it comes to audio, art, and presentation?
I gotta say, one thing that we haven't mentioned that I'm really excited about is we selected some specific teams to have their stadium exteriors built out. So like one thing, I'm a Mariners fan, so when I'm in Seattle, I like that feel where you see the outside of the stadium when you're walking up. So we picked some stadiums, built out the outside of them. So you see that outside shot that really like brings you into that
Seattle
city.
One of them?
Of course.
Okay, so see the bias? See the bias?
I definitely saw the bias.
You see the bias?
Yeah.
Did San Diego Padres get one?
Maybe.
See, this is what we be talking about, man. We can't be having all this bias out here.
Before we move on, I gotta say, like, to Kirby's point with our art team, they've been doing a great job, and I just got to shout out John G, Daniel, Tate, Franz, Reed, Matt, and Kevin, because they just pumped out some unbelievable stuff this year. And then I skipped over it earlier on the animation side, but Chris Clements and James and Noah and Nolan and Lauren for helping to put everything together.
Yep, and Kirby and Drew for getting in that suit, because we had so many animations we needed to get.
We did a
Negro
lot
League
of
baseball.
mocap this year.
Yeah, we did a lot of
mocap.
mocap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Drew mentioned, in storylines, all the animations you see, the very vast majority of them, like 98%, are brand new animations and presentations. We wanted to make sure that these players looked and performed the way that they would. They're not super expressive. They don't get too down, but they still do, exhibit some emotion. And so it was a very, very big undertaking for Chris Clements and the entire animation team to record so many new animations, and we can't wait for everybody to try it out. So we've talked about art, audio, animation, all of these new changes and features coming to the presentation aspect of MLB The Show. New sounds, glove pops, back cracks, footsteps, ricochets off of player equipment, new animations. This new stage, I can't wait for everybody. We can't wait for you to see this new stage for lineups and special presentations. It is amazing. We've talked about art, a new theme. The themes continue to get more work. What'd you say? You added a new game of the week and Global Baseball League branding. Like, there's so much going on in presentation. So we're going to jump over to commentary changes. Kirby, every year our commentary team is hard at work improving the commentary everyone hears in the game. This year is no different. So Kirby, let's talk about some of the commentary updates for our fans.
So this will be the second year that we have Boog Boog Shambi and Chris Singleton in the game. We were really excited to have a new commentary team in the game last year for the first time in 16 years.
16
so
years.
A new play-by-play, completely new team. Yeah. So, that was a huge undertaking. So, main focus this year was to continue to add to the depth and variety of what Boog and Singing are offering in the commentary.
Build that database back up.
Exactly. Working really hard on that. So that was of course just the main focus. And then, you guys have talked a lot about, a lot of the mode support the presentation is focused on. Well, of course, commentary is a part of that as well. Specifically, we talk about things like the Negro Leagues project and mini seasons. We've been able to, really hone in on those modes and put together some really specific commentary to kind of build those worlds out. Of course, in the Negro League, it's about expanding on the stories and of these players and of the Negro Leagues. And Ben Gelman-Chomsky did an incredible job researching and continuing to build those stories out for the players. So really excited about the way that turned out. And in mini seasons, it's a fictional league, it's a fictional baseball world, and Drew mentioned that we branded it the Global Baseball League.
And another ball. Chris, we've seen relocation take place in the Global Baseball League. The Lemurs moved away from Madagascar before landing in Lima. You think we'll ever see league expansion instead of just relocation?
Well, that's a good question, and I think I know the answer. My guess would be yes.
Well, so we wanted to make sure that the commentary reflects that there's this fantasy global baseball world that so we have a lot of specialized commentary for that mode as well that we're excited about.
Shout out to Ben. He did some really difficult work.
Yeah, and Jordan Carruth was mainly focused on the stuff for the mini seasons or for the Global Baseball League and did a really good job on that as well.
So Kirby, you mentioned one of the big things was continued mode support and just continuing to build up this catalog and database of audio, because like you said, they've been doing this for 2 years. We replaced 16 years of commentary, so it's going to take some time to build that back up. You want to elaborate a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, the main, like I said, the main focus was going to be, looking at all of the areas where we were, where we might have been a little bit thin, or where we wanted to, add more content, add more analysis, add more conversation, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit in a second, but basically just kind of add to the depth and the variety of what you're going to be experiencing. So that's in all areas. And the thing with commentary is you've got every type of play-by-play, hit calls, pitch calls, foul balls, ground, everything.
It's a lot of work.
Base results, all of it. There's so many different things that can happen when a ball's put in play. But then you've also got the analysis side of things, of breaking down the pitches, breaking down the situations, the base hits, the home runs, and you have the stuff where they're kind of the in-between, the filler stuff, the conversational stuff, the informative stuff. So it's wide ranging, and so really all of those areas.
And even audio names. We didn't take your name out the game to make anybody mad on purpose.
No, we did not.
You have to understand.
No,
they've been doing this for 2 years. We're replacing 16 years worth of data. It's going to take some time.
Yep.
We will eventually have all of the names re-recorded, but it's going to take some time because we don't have a time machine.
Right.
And we still have about 9 months.
And we have a lot. We work very hard in recording. Of course, Boog and Singy come here to San Diego, and we record elsewhere as well. But we have.
Don't we have footage of them?
We do have some footage of them here. Yes, I believe. And but we have limited hours as well. We have to, we have a lot to cover in those times. So we did definitely try to add as many create player names, last names back in as we could. But like you said, it's a process. 16 years worth of names building up over time. We've got thousands and thousands of names. So we tried to be smart about how we prioritize them, and we want to try to continue to get as many of those names in there for all of you as we can.
Hold on, Kirby. Isn't one of y'all's name wasn't in the game, or we had to re-record it? Was it Drew's?
Drew thought his name wasn't in the game. He thought I left his name out, but he actually just didn't. He actually just didn't find it.
He just didn't.
And I had to show him how to find it.
I spelled my name wrong.
Did he get an apology after you found your name?
Not yet.
Not yet. Wow. holding grudges over here. So Kirby, you mentioned mode support. Mini seasons. What's happening there?
Yeah, so in mini seasons, like Drew mentioned, we branded, the Global Baseball League, and we tried to make a lot of effort there. Well, in the commentary side, we wanted to kind of, get you a little bit more immersed in the world of the Global Baseball League and kind of the unique qualities of that league. Obviously, teams being in Lima and in Liechtenstein and I hope Ben thinks I pronounced that correctly.
It sounded like you did.
Liechtenstein. So we wanted to really, add to the fun of that mode, with kind of the unique qualities of that. And of course, also diving into some of the stat tracking that's going on in the mode. And we're just excited about just having more coverage in that world. And so with the mini seasons commentary, Jordan Caruth worked really hard on that, and something he can be proud of.
Nice. And you mentioned Ben's name, and Ben had a very impossible, difficult task of writing all of the commentary for the Negro Leagues and storylines.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we collaborative effort, of course, with your team, working on the Negro Leagues project. But Ben, was really excited to take that task on, and put in an incredible amount of time researching and finding more information and stories about the players that we're showcasing in year one. And we wanted, of course, Bob is the star of the mode, and he's the one with the knowledge and the stories. But we wanted to be able to add to that in the moments while you're playing the game, and continue to tell the great stories of these players. So Ben did an incredible job with that, and Bugad Singhi had a lot of fun with the content as well. So we've got specific play-by-play for all of those players and for some of the special parts of the moments that you're going to be playing, and then of course conversations that are really elaborating.
Because the commentary it's actually different in storylines. We kind of break the fourth wall a little because
Boog
and Singhi are kind of along on this journey with you, learning as these players. So it's not really structured like they would be commentating a normal game, because they're giving you facts and little tidbits about these players because they're along this journey with you learning. So it sounds really good. You actually heard a snippet of that during the Storylines feature premiere. We can't wait for everybody to hear more as they get to play the mode.
That's right. Yeah, and we wanted it to be something where it's like, yeah, they're calling the action and they're calling the play, but we're also not trying to say like, oh, they're there in that moment. They're there and they're kind of like getting to relive it and watch it and then also tell those stories of the players.
Play.
You hear about a lot of guys who were 2 or 3 sports stars in college. Jackie Robinson, a 4 sports star. He was a Division I standout in baseball, basketball, football, and track.
Oh, 2 now. Fastball almost got him there. And I think we can all be thankful that Jackie chose to pursue baseball. As great a football or basketball player as he might have been, it couldn't have matched his achievements on the diamond. And that's a base hit.
Yeah, dropping some more facts on. You're going to learn so much in that mode. And speaking about conversations, how much of a focus was it to get more conversational content?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, commentary is there's lots of different areas of commentary. There's the play-by-play, there's the color, and then of course the conversational stuff is needed to kind of bridge the gap between those things, and and also not have it be just all about the play-by-play. So we really wanted to focus a lot on conversations this year. We built a really good system for conversations last year in year one with Bugad Singhi, and we wanted to really utilize that system that's working behind the scenes to drive those conversations. We wanted to really get a lot more depth, focusing on players' stories, the information of what players, where they've come from and what they've done in their career, and just interesting facts about the players. A lot of research went into that. And Jordan Caruth, I mentioned before, he did a lot of research on that sort of stuff. We also have a lot of stuff that's going to be dynamically driven, conversation stuff that's going to then change, about the players as you go through your road to the show, your franchise, and that sort of stuff, so that we're going to be able to, update on how many years players have been in the league and what awards they've won and all that sort of stuff.
More season mode specific commentary.
Right, that'll be dynamic.
Stuff,
right.
So it stays up to date. Drew, what are you really most excited about when it comes to commentary this year?
Yeah, kind of that, like what Kirby said. I think there's just a lot more depth in, like, it feels like the knowledge about what's happening in your game, in your league, on your team, with your Road to the Show player. We're just a little more aware. And to Kirby's point with those player facts too, it's great to lean on Boog and Singy, who have been around Major League Baseball and on Major League Baseball fields for so long, that they can add, their own anecdotes and stuff. And I learn new stuff just by playing the game and, like, listening to what they're talking about with certain players.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I think that, able to lean on, two really professional announcers that know the sport and know the league very, very well. So, vast majority of that content's not scripted out. Of course, we're working with them in the recording sessions and directing and whatnot, but really, allowing them to, speak about the players and talk about the things that they know about them and what they appreciate about them.
Yeah, they're adding the color to the commentary.
That's well said.
Yeah, so like Kirby and Drew mentioned, doesn't matter where you're playing this year in terms of commentary, whether you're in Road to the Show, franchise mode, exhibition, storylines, mini seasons, or Diamond Dynasty, a lot of focus have went into making sure we have way more content to really make you feel engulfed in those modes, because at the end of the day, we're trying to make the best video game possible, and audio is a very, very, very big important part of that.
And a good example of that is what we're calling a basic offensive analysis. So regardless of what mode you're in, we want to be focusing on how the offenses are performing as a whole, as a lineup in the game, and utilizing some more advanced statistics and numbers to then have those discussions about how that an offense is doing, both good and bad within that game.
Welcome back, bottom of the fourth, and here's the first baseman, Jake Cronenworth, and that one fouled off.
These Padres, as this game goes on, have to be more disciplined at the plate. So many of their outs have come from weak contact on pitches they're chasing outside of the strike zone. You can't do much of anything with those locations, and that's been true again today.
So that was something that we spent a lot of time on and really focused on the ability to kind of branch that conversation out, look at specific stats and numbers, and kind of provide those updates throughout a game. So again, whether if you're in Diamond Dynasty, you're going to be hearing that same thing, but you're also going to be hearing it in franchise, Road to the Show, and that sort of stuff. And the other thing with that offensive analysis, it's meant to be helpful to you, the user. So if you're hearing the analysis about your team and your offense, and you're hearing that, like, there's you're struggling, or the offense is struggling because they already had 8 first pitch outs, swinging that first pitch too much, or if the chase rate's really high, those types of things can kind of be kind of a hint to maybe adjustments to be made, for you to kind of help your offense perform better. Or the flip side, if you're hearing it about your opponent, kind of hearing a little bit about what's working, what's not working, and in terms of getting outs. Nice.
To sum it all up, like, how would you sum up MLB The Show 23's presentation and commentary suite?
It's our best yet.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's absolutely our best yet. All the things that Drew mentioned visually are just, really stunning, and something that you can pick up on right away when you're looking at the game, or if you play the tech test, or you're looking at any of the videos that we're putting out. Like, you can see a lot of these things right away, and it definitely adds a lot of professionalism, I think, to what we're doing.
Thanks, guys, for your time. Anything else you want to add?
I just want to say thank you to our team, specifically the guys I work with on commentary, Sean Sparbori, Ben, Jordan I mentioned, Scott DeLuca, Justin Cran's a new addition. Like, we've been, it's a big-time team effort, and it really does take everybody. Heather Simmons as well. She does so much transcribing of the content to make sure it's all ready for closed captioning, and she really edits a lot for us as well. So it's a big team effort, and I just want to thank all of them for their continued professionalism and effort.
Yeah, I named a lot of the key contributors earlier as well, and just a thank you to them. And I mentioned I think it's our best ever, and it's because the detail and the ambition that people on our team have to making it the best. And just, our continued pursuit of perfection on the presentation and commentary team. We're going to keep getting better and keep delivering a really, really impressive product.
So we want to thank Kirby and Drew for joining us, talking about presentation and commentary. But we're not done. We're going to join in Mr. Timothy Barnes and Clayton to talk about March to October and franchise mode.
Control Room Colin here. Time for a quick intermission before we move on to franchise and March October. Go grab a snack or refill a beverage, stand up, and stretch out those legs for a couple seconds as we have over an hour with Clayton and Tim talking about everything coming to franchise in March October, including the new draft and scouting system. If you haven't already, make sure that your account is linked to carry your progress across all the platforms that you play MLB The Show 23 on. And if you're watching on Twitch, make sure you link your Twitch account so you can earn Twitch drops just by watching live streams. Head over to theshow.com to learn more all about account linking and to link your Twitch account. Now on to Ramon, Tim, and Clayton for Franchise March October. Thanks for watching this week's feature premiere.
So we just got finished talking about all of the presentations and commentary upgrades coming to MLB The Show 23. But we're not finished. We're going to talk about the updates coming to franchise and March to October with my good friend Timothy and Clayton. How are y'all doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I am fantastic. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
So Clayton and Tim back on the stream. Clayton, tell all of our new fans out there what it is you do for the team and how long you've been here at the San Diego studio.
Well, I've been here too long to mention at this point, so we won't get into that. But I'm product owner and senior designer on franchise in March, October.
Nice. Timothy.
I'm a game designer here. I've been here for 2 years, so this is my sophomore season. Ready to go.
It's been 2 years already.
2 years.
Oh, my goodness. So before we really get started, Clayton, anything you want to say?
There are a few things. I mean, we're going to jump into this new amateur draft, but when I say amateur draft, it's a bit misleading because we're talking about a new scouting system, new amateur scouting system, I should specify there. We're talking about a new draft day experience, and then we're talking about a new amateur signing system as well. Now, everything you're going to hear today, I want to just make this clear that it's in March to October and in franchise unless I specifically say otherwise or Tim does. So they're in both modes. And then, so let's jump in. Now, the CBA, even before the collective bargaining agreement, which is what the CBA is, was announced, we knew there was going to be actually quite a bit of work involved there. Because we're talking about, and Tim will touch on it in a minute, we're talking about stuff like universal DH, we're talking about the new postseason format, and these things may seem like small asks and small pieces or additions to the game, but really they're part of the underlying logic of the game. And anytime the underlying logic where we built on it year after year after year, anytime we change core pieces of that, it's by no means a small ask.
There's no such thing as small changes in video games.
Exactly, especially with franchise, because franchise, the logic essentially drives, all the modes in the game, right? So just quick shout out to our engineers for the hard work they've done there with the CBA changes.
Absolutely. We have some of the best engineers that are working on our team, doing a great job. We are so impressed and happy to talk about what we've done this season. So let's jump right into CBA changes. And like Clayton had mentioned earlier, these were big lifts. First one was the Ohtani rule. This was one of those things that's been multiple years in the making. It hasn't been an easy thing, but this year Ohtani will now hit and pitch in the same game, and our universal DH rule is completely implemented. We now have the NL DH Silver Slugger Award winner that will be in our game. The new playoff format was added as well this year, and this, again, hitting on what Clayton had said, this was huge. This was a really big lift. We heard people, we understand that they were looking for it right away, but this became a really big adventure for us because we had to add in things like logic changes that occurred because of trades. More teams are in contention, so we had to make sure that that worked correctly. And we also have updated tiebreaker logic for MLB and minor league baseball.
I'll just jump in for 1 sec. So the reason it's such a big ask is because stuff like the playoff format, it touches like in-game, it touches like presentations, audio, it touches even loading screens, let alone the front-end logic, and, so it's a big ask.
And back onto that, we also hit on some AAA realignments, minor league affiliations, league names. They reflect real-life changes. We've updated our CBT thresholds, which are the collective balance taxes. Our minimum salaries have been updated. Touching on our draft that we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes, we moved the MLB draft to the All-Star break to reflect real life. We updated with balanced schedule, and now we have a draft lottery that takes place under the hood each offseason.
Thanks for that quick update, but we got so much to talk about. CBA changes, like you mentioned, the Ohtani rule, full implementation, new playoff format, new draft lottery, AAA realignment, and so much more. So let's get right into it. So much has went into franchise in March to October this year. So many good things to talk about. Let's dive into some of the logic changes and improvements.
So from the logic side of things, the player and trade metric, it came in a few years ago. It's been a big change to our game as far as like trade logic, player rankings, contract systems. But there was a situation that we noticed where players that were at or near their potential, it was kind of overvaluing them. So we've corrected this, and it's going to go a long way to make our trades that much better, as well as rankings and contract negotiations. So we're excited about that.
And with that said, what I'd like to emphasize is that trades are subjective. Just like in real baseball, every GM can be criticized for every trade that occurs. It's the same way in our game. Our game is looking to make realistic trades and value players based on contract, potential, overall, and the position they play and the team needs that they have. So I think that we've made some good adjustments. We keep tuning, we keep tweaking. I think that we're moving in the right direction.
Sounds amazing. Some trade logic improvements, more player and trade metric improvements as well. What about roster tuning, Clayton?
Yeah, roster tuning. We did another pass on player potentials and essentially the primary positions. We didn't want any holes in rosters and lineups. And we also made some adjustments to kind of factors and coefficients, stuff that go into the overall player rankings. So they're going to be much more accurate player rankings. If you shift from shortstop to second base, you're not going to see a drastic change like you did previously. And we kind of felt that relief pitchers were overvalued, so we've tuned that down. And just globally, we've kind of shifted towards more realism, where the attributes, the overalls are more leaning towards offense versus some positions like catcher and shortstop and center field were a bit too heavily skewed towards defense in the past.
Nice.
Also, we worked on updating our market sizes to reflect some of the trends in baseball. Obviously, now you've seen what the Padres are doing in baseball. We're trying to hit on that. We opened up the Padres budget and made them more of a large market team with other adjustments. I know, right? We also updated logic for our top 50 prospect rankings. So now you'll see what looks like to be, for us, a very realistic top 50 rankings. And one small little feature that we added as well, we noticed that we didn't have the ability to access transactions in the offseason and playoffs. We put that back into the game.
Hey, you got the ability to access the transactions in the offseason and playoffs. That's also new. Dude. What about the amateur draft?
So the new amateur draft we'll get to, like I said, soon. But one thing I did forget to mention that is a huge part that comes along with the amateur draft is our new prospect generation logic.
Say that one more time. We got new prospect generation logic.
New prospect generation
What
logic.
does that mean, Tim?
Oh, this is going to be exciting. I'm pumped for this part. So one of the features that we've always wanted to touch on and improve was our player generation. And this includes our prospects. And this was the biggest part of our feature that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. We wanted realistic draft classes and distribution. And what that means is, in the past, we had high school, we had college. Now we break it down individually by class. You are going to now see high school seniors, JUCO players. You're going to see college juniors, college seniors. You'll see them all here. And what we're going to see more...
Four-year freshmen.
Four-year freshmen. We'll see four-year freshmen. We'll even see the eligible 21-year-old sophomore in our MLB draft this year.
So we're not just going to see a draft class where everybody's 22 and 24 years old anymore.
Or 26. Or 26. That's gone. Those days are over. We have simulated real baseball now. You're going to see a much younger draft class, a lot more 18 and 19-year-old prospects in the draft class.
Thank you. Because it was so crazy in the past to be drafting players, and you're looking at 8 potential guys. They're in low 50s, but they're 22 years old. And you're like, they're not going to be able to develop. By the time he's 27, 28, you know, he's not just going to be there. So this is a major, major change.
Those days are gone. So just to tag on here, I mean, you won't, even though we're creating four-year freshmen and four-year sophomores, they won't be a part of the draft, but they will be there in subsequent drafts. And if you had scouted them as a high schooler, well, you can maybe draft them later as a four-year junior.
Oh, so we're going to see more prospects that aren't in this coming draft, but they'll be in subsequent drafts.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're going to see some players move from draft class to draft class now this year. Instead of recycling and completely eliminating each draft class each year, you will see prospects that are undrafted be available the next or the following year.
All right. And what about this diamond in the rough and bust logic?
Well, this is interesting because this is one of those things that I think that we've always wanted to hit on. And what I mean by that is, in baseball and the real MLB draft, there's the occasional guy that slips in the draft who becomes a superstar. And you can look at an Aaron Judge type of a player. He's late rounds drafted, becomes a superstar player. And you also see those other guys that are drafted higher and they become busts. We simulate that now with some logic, and we'll touch on that a little bit more when we hit into our scouting feature. But you're going to see diamonds in the rough, and you're going to see busts in our game.
When it comes to draft and injured players, like you mentioned, we have fog of war now with injuries, but specifically, how does that play into this injury effect logic?
So the injury effect logic is kind of going to be our first piece of fog of war that we're introducing this year. There will be a few more pieces later. Fog of war is essentially creating some mystery, some unknowns, some challenge. So in the draft class, there are injured players. You can draft them, but there is obviously an additional risk because after you draft them, it could turn out that their injury is long-term, which means it has a long-term effect on their OVR and potential. So they probably will never reach the heights that you expected them to be when you draft them. The one side that could be a positive is that players with injuries could fall further down the draft. So you could draft an injured player later in the draft who maybe should have been a first-round pick. He goes in the third round, and maybe the injury isn't a long-term deal, and you end up stealing that player.
So there's some upside to that.
Exactly.
Okay, so this feature we're excited to present, this has a lot of a backstory because it wasn't something that Clayton and I just dove into with our own design ideas. We also met with front office personnel. We met with scouting directors. And the purpose of that was to try to get the game to be as realistic as possible, but also provide that risk-reward in our game.
Yeah, and we talked about the distribution of the draft classes, the ages, and what have you. But essentially what's happening now is after your initial draft class, subsequent years, essentially, 90+% of the players that come in are going to be like 18, 19-year-old high school seniors, stuff like that. Like realism. We want a realism. And so basically undrafted players, go back into the draft, but then you're introduced this new crop of 18, 19-year-old high school players.
So no more draft classes with nothing but 22-year-old kids.
No more about it.
Music to every franchise player's ears. So Tim, bring us home. What are the big things to remember when it comes to the changes to realistic draft classes and distribution?
So we're excited that we have now initial draft class ranges that range in age from 18 to 23, and it leans to the younger players. We're going to generate now high school seniors, JUCO 1, JUCO 2, 4-year freshmen, 4-year sophomores, 4-year juniors, the 4-year seniors, and any sophomore that's 21 is also draft eligible. Those players as well, even if they're not drafted, will age and they'll move on to each draft class, moving on continuously.
So let's look at the new amateur draft and this new risk-reward scouting system. What's going on here, Tim?
Hey, I'm excited about this, and I think our community is going to be as well because this is a huge feature. It encompasses so many factors. It includes scouting. It includes drafting. It also includes signing bonuses. Ramon, did you hear that?
Signing bonuses.
And the player generation logic we just covered.
So we have a lot of different things going on here. We're going to start right in playing the game. We're queuing up our dev kit here, and we're going to jump into scouts. So obviously you can't have a scouting system without scouts. So with that being said, we made some adjustments to our scout system. First thing you're going to notice is now instead of 4 scouts, we have 3. And with that being said, we've also improved our scouts. We've improved the scouts with their attributes, and we've also adjusted the salaries of our scouts. scouts making $2 million a year, Ramon, wasn't realistic, and we had to fix that problem.
So I see you have salaries here that are much more realistic with what you'll see in real life.
We do, and let's touch on the new mechanisms for these attributes here. So for Frank Pyle and all the other scouts on the screen here, you can see efficiency. Essentially, that's the rate at which you scout prospects.
That's how fast you scout prospects.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. There's discovery. We'll skip over pictures. We'll go to discovery. Discovery is just the rate at which you discover undiscovered prospects.
Prospects that aren't, on your list.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, they're not on anybody's
They're not on
list.
anybody's
They're not
list.
on the MLB Central's list, which
Okay.
we'll get to soon. Little
And these
sneak peek
last
there.
two attributes, what do they mean?
And this is another piece that's going to dive into the fog of war a little bit. So pitchers and position players, basically that's the accuracy at which your scout scouts these players. So just like in real life, not every scout is 100% accurate. In fact, most of the time they're not accurate. But so for pitchers, if you're scouting pitchers, you might want to include a scout who has a high pitcher attribute, or else you could be misled in the ratings for
Get
that
some
pitcher.
bad info.
Yeah, and same for the position players. So keep that in mind when you set your scouting
Like
tasks.
that old scouting report for Mike Trout, like a few MLB The Shows back. Yep, so here now the scouts are making realistic salaries, and you've actually changed what all of these attributes actually do. So what are we jumping to next?
All right, we're going to back out of here, and we're going to get into the scouting screen. So you can see here, we're just going to talk about it freelance here. So you have three sections here. You can assign, you have 3 scouts, so you can do 3 tasks per week. I know that franchise is such a big mode and there's so much to do in there. We personally weren't loving making people go into the scouting screen and set their assignments every single day. It was just too much. It's cumbersome. So right now you can set your assignments once per week, which kind of adds a bit to the strategy. It adds to the risk reward element. So, be diligent on what assignments you're setting.
So with that being said, Clayton's going to jump in here to the scout assignment screen, and as we go through this, you're going to see that there's one new thing that we have this year, and that is we have the option to scout a position. We didn't have the option to do that before in the past. This year, if you want to send your scout out, you can send them out to survey a group of players in a certain position to get a scouting report, maybe not as detailed as if you scout an individual prospect, but you can still get some scouting of that position.
Right, so scout position's new this year. You choose the position, you choose the region, you can essentially scout all those players in that position. Scout prospect, is just scouting an individual prospect at a time, and like previously, discover new prospects. You're just trying to find those players that aren't on any ranking list at this point. So let's set something up here. Let's go to scout prospects. Well,
as Clayton is doing this, I want everyone to understand that our ratings are very important here for these scouts. You want to be smart on how you handle your scouts, setting them up to use their maximum attributes. So if you see a scout that has a high discovery attribute, maybe that's the scout you send on a discovery assignment, and vice versa for other things.
That's a great idea. My Texas Rangers want to discover some new prospects. You see Lou Flores here has 94 discoveries, so it makes sense to send him out on a discovery assignment. So we're going to click in here. My Rangers, what are we looking for, you think? Tim, what do my Rangers need?
Well, Rangers always need pitching.
I
Always
don't
need
know.
pitching.
We got starting pitching now, so let's look for maybe a pitcher, but we're primarily want to choose like a reliever if we can. But we'll do pitchers, and we'll go to the international region, and we'll set up that task for Lou Flores here. So you can see here he has been set in the first slot, the top priority. Up top, you can see above where it says discover new prospects, you can see up to 4 players discovered per week. He has a pretty high discovery rating, so that's a decent amount of players that he could possibly discover this week. So moving on from there, let's go to priority number 2. We're going to jump back in, look at our scouts, and I see Gene Papas has a 97 efficiency, Tim.
That's awesome. So let's scout a prospect here, Clayton.
He also has 88 for position players and 81 for pitchers, so it looks like his scouting report should be pretty accurate.
And with that note, no matter how good your scout is, just like in real baseball, our scouts can have some errors in their scouting reports. They may not always be accurate. One of the things that we learned when discussing this scouting function and feature with our scouting directors, every team, every organization has a different outlook on prospects, and you'll see that we're using 30-team control, and maybe we can jump in and show you some of that later on, how different teams evaluate players. But one of the examples that we have was Derek Jeter, Colorado Rockies, had a totally different scouting report than some other teams, and that was some of the information that we gleaned this summer when we talked about that.
So we're jumping in here to the prospect list. Top left, you can see Rangers draft picks. Just gives you an eye to where their picks are. The Rangers lost their second-round pick. A notable pitcher or two said they seem to have lost their second-round draft pick. Also, notice that the Rangers are number 4, so we'll touch on this again, but we also have draft lottery logic in there.
And this, just take a minute here. This is an entirely new screen.
This is entirely new screen. Everything is new, yeah. So Rangers drafted number 4. They should have drafted number 7, but they moved up in the draft lottery. We have that logic in under the hood, so be aware of that also.
And that happens at the end of each offseason, correct?
It happens usually during the winter meetings, that time frame, but it'll be set by the time you enter the draft for sure. You see the bonus allotment in the top left. Now, we'll touch on this a bit more later, but every pick the Rangers have, you see round 1, number 4, round 3, number 82, those all come with a slot value. And every slot value adds up to what the Rangers bonus allotment is. And then on top of that, teams can spend 5% above the bonus allotment. So that comes out to $9.49 million. So that's how we got $9.49 million for the Texas Rangers. Bottom left, you can see positional rankings. You see the Rangers need relief pitchers, closing pitchers. Third base, not sure they have a top prospect there, but left fielders and right fielders is also a need for the Rangers.
Yeah, so let's go ahead, Clayton. Let's pick a player. One of the things that you want to recognize here, since you're limited to the number of scouts that you have 3 scouts, and we have 14 weeks that we're doing our scouting, you have to be very judicious on how you're scouting. If you go and scout players outside your draft ranking or draft position, it may be wasted scouting. So Clayton has to be very smart, looking at his MLB draft rank, looking at where he's looking to gain a prospect. He has to be kind of conservative on his scouting.
Yeah, we are. And here, Tim, maybe chat about those colorful ranges this year.
Yeah. So like we just mentioned, this is brand new. This is our brand new amateur prospect player card. If you look at this, there's a lot of information on this screen. And what you're going to see on this screen is on the upper part of the screen, you see potential and overall, and you see ranges there. And what those ranges are, they symbolize what the fog of war, what that player's potential or overall possibly can be. And there's a range there. It could be higher, it can be lower. There's also fog of war in that, in fact of you may see that there's players that could be diamonds in the rough. Their potential and overall can actually be higher than what's displayed here, or they can be a bust, and their potential and overall could be lower than the ranges. Your scouting will try to narrow those ranges down as we go through our scouting, and you may see those ranges tighten up. Obviously, high school kids have a larger spread here because they're unknown. They're unknown commodities. As you get up into the draft classes and you see a college senior, their ranges are much narrower.
Oh, so what you're trying to do here is you're trying to tighten up those ranges.
Exactly, yeah. So high school, that draft class, high school players will have the widest range initially for their overall potential and all their attributes.
Because they haven't been playing that long.
Exactly, and they're a higher risk. There's not as much known about them, right? So you move through the classes, you get to JC, junior college, 1 and 2. You get to 4-year sophomore, you get to 4-year junior like we have here, and then you get to 4-year senior. Those ranges will shrink, their initial starting ranges. And then additionally, once you're 100% scouted on these guys, those ranges will correspond to the draft classes as well. So obviously 4-year seniors, those ranges will tighten the most. High school seniors the least, but they'll never be 100% like a single-digit number because we still want some fog of war there. We still want some unknown. In addition to the potential that these scouting reports could be inaccurate and what you're looking at may not be the truth. Additionally on this screen, other things you see secondary positions are unknown. So at this point, we don't know where else Mauricio Vizcaino can play. In the bottom left, we start getting into the players' interest in signing. So you may be familiar with MTO offseason free agency, but the player's interest in signing kind of dictates the bonus demand, which we'll get into shortly.
This is
that
also
they'll
new
request.
functionality, right?
It's all new
Oh,
functionality.
yeah.
It's all part of the new signing system. So we don't know his interest in signing yet. We don't know his bonus demand yet. Again, in the bottom left. Signing motivation is something new. Essentially, it's whether the player is more, he has a priority for being drafted earlier in the draft, or he has a priority for the bigger signing bonus. So it's either money or prestige in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doctor exam is kind of what we're referring to there is the physical. Now, this is another piece of fog of war that's being introduced because players can opt out of the physical. So if they opt out and you draft them, you don't know at that point whether they're healthy or injured. So you may draft them if they're opted out, and then it might find out after you draft them that they're injured.
So doctor exam, that's going to tell us at some point
right,
whether they opted out or not. Okay.
Exactly, yeah. And then injury risk was there previously. It's just the rate at the chance that they could get injured moving forward.
So what's the most important thing here in this new screen? Is it their draft ranking?
All right, so what you're going to see is in the upper right-hand corner, the draft ranking. They are aligned right now with MLB and your own organization's ranking. We rank the top 200 prospects, and we are aligned with that as your team on the first week. So they'll be a perfect match. What happens as you scout, your board will change. It changes dynamically based on the scouting. So this prospect right here may be ranked number 3 by MLB. After 5 weeks,
He might
6
be
weeks,
33.
He might be 33. He might be number 1. That's going to be what your scouting department is going to be responsible for.
Exactly, and we'll demonstrate that stuff in a minute. So let's back out here of the amateur player card, the all-new amateur player card, and let's add Mauricio Vizcaino to our scouting board. All right. So you see the top here for Vizcaino, he's going to earn 3% interest per week, and he's going to 100% scouting per week, which means he's going to be completely scouted in 1 week, and that's because our scout Gene Papas has very high efficiency, and it's a smaller range for a 4-year junior. So if he was a high school player, he wouldn't be fully scouted in a week, but because he's a 4-year junior, we're able to do that.
All right, what about this third priority? What are we doing?
Third priority, let's jump back in. Now, this is our weakest scout, so we're going to, I guess we have no choice, but we'll demonstrate the scout position here. So we'll go into scout position. Again, Rangers, maybe outfielders, maybe let's look for a closer here, a closer from the central region, and we'll add him to the board. Now here you see if you scout a position, your accrual rate for interest and your accrual rate for scouting is much less because you're dealing with more people, which makes sense. The other thing of note here is that, and it's very important for scout prospect, for individual scouting assignments, the priority that you put them in on the big board is very important. So if I click on Mauricio Vizcaino here and I move him to the top priority, you'll see that his interest has gone up to 3% per week. So you gain additional interest per week if you prioritize individual scouting assignments. So keep that in mind. The same doesn't occur for discovery and scouting positions here.
All right. So let's sim ahead a week and jump right back into it.
All right, here we go. We're going to advance. So we're going to finalize the weekly scouting plan. Of course, you can skip it and set it to auto, but we're going to finalize it and advance here. So we'll go back to the calendar. We'll see how the Rangers do for a week. We're going to jump ahead here, sim through the date. Every Sunday, see, today is a day to set scouting assignments. That'll pop up. It's on Sunday, so we'll hit OK. We'll back out, and we'll jump back into the scouting screen. So here we see Mauricio's now 100% scouted. His interest in signing with the Rangers is revealed, plus he's earned 3% interest that week. We see he's 57% interested in signing with the Rangers, 100% scouted. His potential is 80 to 90, overall 61 to 71. Those are the ranges, and that is tight. That's as tight as they're going to get. So make your decisions based on that. We see that he has secondary positions of center field and right field now. Doctor exam is still pending. The physicals, what's the date again for those?
June. It's going to take place in June, so we'll see physicals take place in June.
And why is that, Tim?
Well, it's important because if a player opts into the physical and takes the physical, they are guaranteed 75% of the bonus allotment. So that is a major league rule. If they opt in and they're drafted, they're guaranteed 75% of their bonus allotment.
So that's also part of the logic. And why that date in particular, Tim?
Well, that's a scouting combine. So unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get that into the game this year, but we're simulating that in our simulation here in the game. That in June, our undrafted prospects will either submit or deny or refuse to take a physical.
And let's take a look at his player card again now that he's 100% scouted.
So jumping back in here, we also see.
Whoa, look at that! Look at the draft rank changing.
Top right, we see the draft ranks differing. We'll jump into that in a minute. But also in the bottom left, you see he has a balanced signing motivation. So he's not leaning towards a draft position or a bonus demand. He's kind of somewhere in the middle. And he also has average injury risk. So we'll back out of here, and we'll actually pull him off the board because he's 100% scouted. We may add him later if we want to accrue more interest, but we're gonna cancel that.
And you can see that he's looking for a $7.6 million signing bonus. So that's a key point there that you have to keep in the back of your mind as we get closer to draft day.
We'll jump back in just to show that. You see, $7.6 million is his bonus demand in the bottom left there. So we're back into the prospect lists. I'll let Tim walk through these.
Okay, so we're here, and one of the cool things that we have this year, just like we did in the March to October off season, is we have lists, and they help us sort our players, help us sort our prospects, so it's easier for us to break down what we're doing here. So we have our all. Our all is all the prospects that we've either discovered, MLB ranked, every prospect that's known currently. And what I said known is that the ones that we currently know. As
we know as a team.
As we know as a team, you're going to find more. There's a lot more prospects out there. As you discover prospects, you might find diamonds in the rough out there that may be a big impact on your team. That'll expand.
So what are the only prospects that show up on our board without us going to discover anyone?
Essentially, they're all the prospects that are known by our quote-unquote MLB Central system. So you'll see guys on here that are not ranked, right? So the MLB Central ranks the top 200, but as we rip through here, you'll see NR means that guys are unranked. And at some point, we'll get back into the ranked players.
All right, so as Clayton moved to the recently scouted page here, you can see that the prospects that are here are the prospects that were recently scouted, that were either discovered or scouted as a position. So every player that was a positional scouted player or that was discovered player that we didn't get a chance to see firsthand will now show up on this recently scouted list.
You'll see the ones on where it says draft rank and it has the Major League logo. It says NR. Those are players you discovered because they previously weren't discovered, so they had no rank. And now you can see that Texas, their draft rank is 160. This guy was just discovered, Texas draft rank of 164. This guy not bad, a 74, kind of out of nowhere. So in a sense, that's another way to get those diamonds in the rough. Is
that's a diamond in the rough right there.
Wow.
It's a possibility. We still got a lot of way to go.
10% scouted, 10% scouted, so let's not assume anything.
Okay, so now you can see that we have a recommended draft prospects. And what this is all prospects that may fit our positional needs as a team. So if you look in the left-hand panel, you'll see the positional needs that we currently have are relief pitchers, closing pitchers, and left fielders.
And we set that.
We set that one. The CPU will set the bottom 3 ranked positions automatically.
But you can override that.
And you can override them if you are the user control team.
So you see here we have relief pitchers, closing pitchers, and left fielders, and that's all you're going to see in the recommended because those are the positions we wanted to focus on.
Then we can sort here by our top 100 prospects by Major League rank. This doesn't change. This is set right from the start of the franchise. So when you walk into this, your draft rank is set by MLB. It's basically their top 100 rankings. And if we go on to the next list, this is where you're going to start seeing things diverge a little bit. This is our individual team rankings, and as Clayton is sorting through this list here, you're going to see that our rankings are starting to diverge a little bit from MLB rankings, and we're only a week into our scouting.
So you see our boy Mauricio here, 100% scouted, MLB draft rank of 3rd, and Texas now has him at 7th on their list. We'll look a little bit further down the list. The more you scout, the more you can see that these things diverge, and you'll find the busts and the diamonds in the rough start shining through.
So let's sim ahead, 8-10 weeks into the future to see how things diverge and who else gets discovered?
Yeah, we can do that. And one of the things that we have here, if by whatever reason you want to make your scouting assignments as auto, we have the ability to change that at any point from auto or back to manual. So we'll have Clayton jump back in here. we're gonna sim out
I'm
of this.
gonna add number one boy here, Andres Moya.
So what is the best advice you have for when players are scouting in franchise mode this year?
I think it depends on your team needs. If you have like only one need, maybe you can get away with scouting the individual prospects solely. I think one thing you should focus on is your draft position. Like if you have the 20th pick, probably shouldn't be scouting guys 1, 2, 3, 4 in the draft because they'll be gone by the time they get to your pick. I would say be sure when you assign individual scouting assignments, like I'm doing here, move him to the top priority, get that extra interest per week. If you have a wide range of positions that you have needs in, it's not a bad idea to start out with the scouting position. You know, you can sort of weed out some of the diamonds and roughs and busts there as well, and then discovery as well early on to find those guys that may be hidden, those hidden gems.
Nice. One more point there with that, Ramon, is that I don't think we touched on this yet. Positional needs, if you scout a player that is one of your positional needs, you also accrue an extra 1% of interest each week by doing that. So right now we don't have a relief pitcher. Let's change that up a little bit.
I have a second baseman on the board, so we'll swap out left fielder for second base, and he was 3%. He should be now 4% interest per week. So that's another little piece there. If you can match up your positional needs with your scouting assignments, you will get some extra interest accrual, which is another little secret.
And as we get farther into the scouting and drafting, you're going to notice that the higher your player's interest is, their bonus demands will go down. And that's going to be important as we get into the actual draft, and we'll talk about that as we hit that.
Nice. So let's sim ahead a few weeks and see where we land.
Okay, we're going to advance out of here. We're going to skip scouting and set it to auto. We're going to advance a few weeks here. Yes, I want to skip scouting and set it to auto. Okay, so we went ahead just a couple weeks. We'll jump back in and take a quick look here. So we're looking at a third baseman, Jeremy Dozier. We see 41% interest, 38% scouting progress. MLB rank had him at 111. Texas has him at 125. But let's change the prospect just to look at some of these other rankings here.
Clay, you want to do me a favor here so we can show our fans some of the changes here that we've made with the CPU logic? We'll have Clayton take a look at maybe our number 2 MLB ranked prospect. Let's go to him. And what we rank him as in our internal rank is number 1. Since we're using 30-team control, we can also take a look at other teams and see how they're scouting, because our scouting system is dynamic. And what you're going to see is that you're going to see all 30 teams are going to have individual scouting reports on each player. They can be widely different. They can be the same, just like real baseball. Everything can change here.
Let's take a look in here and see how the Braves have him. So we had him number 1. The Braves currently have him number 3.
Yeah, so you see a little bit of a change here. If we go through and you go to a couple other teams, you're going to see that that'll change even more. And again, it's based on your scouting. So who are you scouting? What prospects are being scouted? That's going to change your draft rankings. So as Clayton's going through this, that was one of the logic changes that we made. We completely revamped CPU logic for scouting. Our CPU logic is completely different. Everything has changed. There's a lot more that's going on under the hood now than it's ever been before. As you can see, the big board here is being populated dynamically by the CPU. They're positioning players in places where they feel that they're going to get the most bang for the buck. That's one of Clayton's favorite terminologies and terms.
Bang for the buck.
Bang for the buck. So you're going to see that CPU teams are going to do that. And again, this is a user playing against the CPU, and you're trying to outsmart the CPU.
Yeah, we can also see here, went to the Pirates, and the Pirates have him at number 4. We had him number 1. A couple other teams had him 2. He was 3, but you'll start seeing the more further we get in here, some bigger divergences. You see, so Pittsburgh sees Gary Weinstein as number. Oh wait. Oh, sorry. So you can see here, Pittsburgh sees Leandro Gil. Leandro Gil. Leandro Gil.
Heel, if you're a Yankee fan.
Leandro Gil. MLB rank was 11. Pittsburgh has him he's dropped all the way down to 62 based on some primary scouting by the Pirates. So we'll back out of here. We'll advance further.
All right, so we've simmed a few weeks ahead, and we've got a lot of fully scouted prospects.
So we're looking at week 9 of 14. You have 14 weeks, essentially 14 chances to set up your scouting big board. So make the right decisions. Choose your strategy wisely. So here we got Leandro Santiago, small divergence, Carlos Gonzalez. MLB had him 5th. We have him 9th. You can see that Sid Brignoni, he's gone up about 20 slots. But yeah, this is the CPU logic from the Rangers because we're on auto. You can see they're targeting, MLB had Carlos ranked at 5th. We have the 4th pick, so they're targeting picks in our draft range. And I think our 3rd round pick, if I'm not mistaken, is roughly around 109 to 117 range. But
and you can see there we have JUCO
112,
players, 19-year-olds. So you'll see those populating here in our draft classes.
So if we look at the top 100 prospects here, the MLB rank, initially Moya was 1. He's gone to 4. You'll see Omar Lopez was originally 7th, and he's all the way up to number 1 on Texas board. So that's probably who I'll be targeting at this point. That's probably who I'll be targeting on draft day. So the ranking for the amateurs, I mean, it's all part of the player metric, the new and improved player metric, actually. So, of course, its potential plays a role, the initial starting out overall, and obviously age as well, because the younger you are, the more years you have to progress to that, like those peak years. So that's kind of what we're looking at for these player rankings.
So let's get to the draft and see what's changed with the draft, because I hear there's some big changes, Tim.
Oh, we're excited about the draft. So I'm going to have Clayton sim right up until draft day. We're going to get there, sim through.
And we're here. We're at the MLB draft, which now takes place during MLB All-Star break.
Yeah, so this is going to be exciting. So I'm really happy and proud to show this off. I know our entire team is. So I'm going to have Clayton jump right in here. We're going to go to the draft.
As the Rangers, of course.
Unfortunately, I guess here.
Yeah,
I'm a Yankee fan.
Go to draft.
All right, we're going to go into the draft. And the first thing you'll notice is the draft queue. So we're excited about this, just like if you play fantasy sports and you have fantasy drafts, you want to set up your draft queue ahead of entering the draft. Be a bit more organized and be more specific about the targets that you want to pick during the draft.
So as we go through here, before you start, you can add in your prospects, any prospects that you want. So you can set your own draft board the way you'd want it to be. I'll have Clayton just add a few players on there that he's targeting as a Ranger fan, who he wants
again
to pick with his picks.
On draft day, again, you have the list of all. You have the team rank, and you have basically any player you've scouted or discovered, right? So looking at my Texas Rangers rankings here, of course I have to add my boy Omar Lopez. I need a right fielder. He can play left field and center field. Perfect. 49% interest. And he is JC1, JUCO 1. So we're going to add him to the draft queue. Who else looks good here? Moya. I mean, I could add these guys, but again, 8% scouting, there's a lot of risk involved there. So I might try and save those guys for later in the draft, or if they're still there, or let other teams take them because they're kind of unknowns. Moya, Texas, another second baseman here. Texas has him ranked 4, so I'm going to add him to the draft queue as well.
Before we go on, if you look down below, you'll see the doctor exams. Here's where you can see opted out or injured. So if we go back, right there, Moya is an injured doctor exam. So this could impact his stock and his quality as a player after we move forward.
So I think you would, at this point, you'll probably have, depending on how wide range, if you only targeted individual prospects, you're probably going to look at between 30 to 45 fully scouted players.
Depends on the class too.
Exactly. So obviously high school players take longer to scout. 4-year seniors take less time, so keep that in mind as well. Maybe you want to focus on 4-year seniors because you can get more accurate scouting reports on more players by targeting older players. But again, maybe you're missing out on those really great prospects who are high school players. So we'll see here. Yeah, pointing out that my boy Moya is injured. That's a pause for thought there. And I also see that Weinstein actually opted out of his doctor exam, so I don't know if he's injured or healthy.
You don't
but
know what it is.
I know for sure Moya is hurt, so I might lean towards Weinstein because maybe he's not hurt. Who else we have? Cooper, 4-year senior, 90 to 95 potential.
He's injured too.
Oh my God.
Decisions.
Rangers, who you scouting? These guys are healthy. I better add them on just because they're healthy.
So Clayton's going to populate his draft queue. And as he's finished populating his draft queue, he can also go through here and modify it. So he can move players up. He can move players down on his queue.
So I'm going to look at Moya injured, moving him below Weinstein, who is opted out. But maybe I should move Cooper. What do I have him at?
Decisions, buddy.
Starting pitcher. Oh, I got to go with the sure thing. I'm going to move Cooper up. Oh, and I do love my boy Mauricio, who I've been scouting for a while. So let's move him up.
All the way up.
I can't go number one. No, come on. Mauricio Vizcaino. All right, so I have my draft queue set. I would probably add some more players based on my third round pick or fourth round pick I have, because I know I have no second round pick. But for time's sake, I'm just going to focus on the first round pick.
And if Clayton decides to make changes after he gets into the draft screen, we could also make some more changes.
All new draft screen. This is all new functionality and UI, correct?
All part of the draft day experience.
So here we are in the all new draft screen in MLB The Show 23. What's happening here?
One thing I will point out, there's a lot happening, but just a reminder, the top 6 picks have been set by the draft lottery that's happening under the hood. So Texas should have been 7th, but they moved up in the draft lottery. Thank you, draft lottery. And now number 4. So Tim, what else are you seeing on here, buddy?
So there's a ton here. So look, so we have round 1 up in the upper left-hand corner. We show on the clock. So our Pirates are pick number 1. They're on the clock. Their logo's up there. You'll see a timer. All right, so on that timer, we have 10 seconds. CPU draft picks, they're allotted 10 seconds per pick. Users are allotted 4 minutes per pick. In the upper right corner, you'll see that the Nationals are up next with pick number 2, and we also display their logo. And we're all set to go here. We have 30 teams on the draft board for round 1. We're looking through our queue. When we're ready to start our draft, we start the functionality by pressing the start button.
All right, let's do it.
Moya injured, drop him lower.
Well, here we go. We're still adjusting.
All right. So we're going to start the draft, and there may be a little surprise.
A little surprise?
What's going on
what
here?
is this?
So we wanted to include, the reveals went over well with the MTO offseason free agency. So for the top 3 picks of the draft, there will be some sort of reveal. So the Pirates.
They took Carlos Gonzalez.
Now you can see the difference between what we had scouted and what they did. So they must have ranked him number 1 on their board, and what we had ranked them was number 9.
So we'll advance past Carlos, the number 2 pick. Again, a reveal.
If the user has a pick in the top 3, that'll pause, and you'll get to select your player, and then this will come up.
The Nationals, for sure a bust. For sure.
Wow.
No doubt. No doubt.
Oh, 11th. He went 11th ranked player, William Gale, starting pitcher. That's okay.
Yeah, so this is the actual reveal in the gameplay trailer. Gotcha. All right, let's go. Who's next? We got one more.
William Gale, the 3rd pick, right before my Rangers pick. Who do we got? Detroit goes with.
Waiting.
Omar Lopez.
They took my
They
top
took your
pick.
guy. One pick before.
Tigers.
One pick before.
So now I'm left. Do I want an injured player? Do I want an opted out player? There's a lot of risk there,
Decisions.
but it could pay off.
So you'll see we have a star here. So every time a user pick comes up, there is a star. It's number 4.
4 minutes. I'm on the clock here, as you can see.
No, there's no pause here. So what we're going to do, Clayton, you want to demonstrate here some of the things that we can do while the timer's going on?
So you can move over to the left. Anybody who's been drafted, you can see their card. You can dive in here.
Timer's still going.
You can also go to the player card for these players, and the timer is still going.
Pressure.
After they're drafted, do their real ratings show up? Or is it still the scouted ratings?
It's still the scouted, and we will get to that
Ooh.
later.
Little surprise for you, Ramon.
So who you drafting, Clayton?
Well, all right. Who's left? I got Mauricio Vizcaino, my boy.
Let's go for it.
I need a left fielder. Although I want my boy Bubba Thompson to steal 100 bases this year. But let's see.
This
now, if you look at Vizcaino, you'll notice that his bonus demand, if you go back here, his bonus demand is $7.6 million. Bonus demands don't always align directly with the slot, so sometimes you have to be smart on how you draft, because if you take all your picks over slot, bonus demands higher than what the slot is, you're not going to have the bonus allotment to sign these players. So there's a little strategy involved.
Little strategy
as well.
Clayton, go back to the picture that you had. Was it Gary? Look at Gary's projected overall, 81-71. That's a pretty tight.
That's
with
a high
potential. That's a
overall.
He could be pitching for you in the majors very soon.
He's almost
but he opted out.
He's almost
he
day one.
opted out.
I know. That's the risk.
Opted out. That's the risk.
Another thing we'll mention too. So the interest level, the initial interest level, there's logic that goes into that. I believe their draft classes involved in that.
Their draft classes, if they're blocked by other players on the major league roster or in the minor league roster. So we look ahead 4 to 5 years to see. The player obviously doesn't want to play for a team where they're blocked. So they're looking for places where they can jump right in.
Go.
Organizational strategy.
21-year-old left fielder.
I think it's also basically just where MLB Central ranks them, plays into their interest level.
All right, Clayton, what you going to do? You got a minute? You going to take this 21-year-old left fielder or you going to roll the dice?
Moya injured. I mean, I like Moya. 83,
93.
I mean, he seems like a sure thing, except for they opted out. Cooper, what do we? Oh my, 90 to 95 potential.
But
if
overall,
it's accurate, remember my scouts.
Whoops, he's 22.
He's a pitcher. Oh, which scout scouted him? It was Otto. I don't know. I think I'm going. You know who I'm going
Rangers.
for.
You're not going to take the
Rangers
picture. You're not going to take the picture with the 81 overall.
Rangers are stacked at pitching right now.
What?
I'm going.
You're
loyal.
Okay.
I'm loyal to Mauricio.
Do it.
Oh, I got a trophy too.
You got his trophy.
Feature of the franchise. So we don't get a reveal, but we get a little pop up here, just a little payoff right there. So this, you see here.
That's Mauricio.
How dare you?
So Clayton, we just drafted. I can't say his name.
Mauricio.
We just drafted Mauricio. What's happening next?
All right, so this is actually the only time the draft pauses. So you can sit here and you can admire your draft pick for as long as you want. He won $7.4 million. We know that his 80 to 90 potential. Well, we hope he's 80 to 90 potential. We know his overall 61 to 71. But we're gonna advance out of here.
All right, Clayton, you want to show him some of the new functionality we had into the draft screen here. So if Clayton presses the option button, it's going to bring up draft options here. He can sim to the Rangers' next pick, or he can sim the rest of the draft.
So we'll sim ahead to my next pick.
Yeah, I want to see what happened to that picture and what his ratings really look like, and see if Clayton made the right choice.
So you can see our draft queue's empty.
So we won't know that yet, Ramon, but we will check it out later. Just remember his name?
Weinstein?
Who's the pitcher? Moya was the pitcher.
Moya.
Right?
They're gone now. They're gone. They're off the queue.
Well, actually, see, here's the other thing. We can go and see where they were picked while we're on the clock here. So we'll go back to first round. Moya
was 8.
Weinstein 13. Wait,
so
Cubs,
Kansas
City,
and
Cubs.
Kansas City.
All right,
remember that. Remember that. Kansas City and the Cubs.
So let's go back to the third round with our pick. Obviously, everybody in my queue is gone, so I'm going to jump back in. My team ranks. I still have a 49th ranked right fielder. Let's see who have I scouted. 99 for relief pitcher. I don't know. Do I go for a sure thing reliever, or do I go for someone I don't know much about?
As Clayton's looking at his draft list here, one of the things I wanted to point out was that you'll see closing pitchers and relief pitchers will not be drafted by the CPU in the first round, and that's because more often than not, relief pitchers and closing pitchers are not drafted in the first round. So that is on purpose. Even if their draft rank is higher, we leave them there. They'll be around second, third round picks.
Another added piece of realism there. I'm gonna go for Andres here. I see that 85 to 98 potential.
Taking a risk.
Maybe he's only 20% scouted, but I'm gonna draft him. So I can draft him directly from the prospect list here. So we got Andres Neve.
Low bonus demand.
All right, so the other thing, we're going to just bypass the whole draft here. We're going to sim the rest of the draft. So it's complete. Again, you can exit the draft or you can go back in. You can see all the picks that other teams have made. But we will exit. So now that we've exited the draft, just one last note on that. So we have new intelligent CPU/auto draft logic. It's based on basically what Tim mentioned. You know, relief pitchers are very rarely drafted in the first round, so we've essentially excluded them from CPU and auto logic. The draft slot plays a role. The bonus demands play a role. Scouting position, blocked positions. We actually look ahead to see if there's a top prospect or someone at that position who 4 years from now would prevent you from being a starter at that position. So that's part of it. Organizational strategies, rebuild, playoffs, and essentially the prospect's interest in signing you also plays in as well.
So let's jump to the last phase, which is signing these prospects.
Yeah, Ramon. So this is one of those things that have bothered me for years. We've never had a realistic signing draft pick stage.
Nope.
We just offered them a low contract. They've accepted it. Now you have to work. Just like real life, there's signability risk here. As you can see down below, that signed draft picks is locked, and it's locked purposely. We open it up a few days after our MLB All-Star events.
There's also a similar lock on the scouting big board. So basically every Sunday during the regular season, those are the only days you can access the scouting big board.
So I really want to jump into this. So this is a fun part of the game here. Let's go right to our signing board. All right, so we just entered into our signing big board. All right, so right now we have Auto Logic in, and what you're seeing is that...
And my boy, Mauricio.
And his boy Mauricio is in here. He's already locked into that #1 slot. While you're on the signing board, you can also accumulate additional interest. You can accumulate additional scouting. So if you look above each panel, you can see a 3% interest per 3 days. And I guess that's a good point to make, that our signing board takes place every 3 days, not per week, every 3 days. So Clayton's moving his draft picks around a little bit here. He's prioritizing the way he feels makes the most sense.
I'm gonna add Sargent on here because he wasn't ranked by the MLB, so he has a very low bonus demand, so I can maybe get him under slot.
So this is where the gamesmanship comes into the game. What we want to do here is we want to try to have as much bonus allotment available for your prized picks. So what you want to do is try to sign those players, those prospects, below bonus demand, when and if possible. And to do that, you try to find the players that have the highest interest already.
Mm-hmm.
And we have them locked off right now. We can't even offer a bonus right now until that prospect has hit at least the 50% threshold.
So the work's not done.
Never done.
Baseball's different. What I've also noticed is we still don't know their true overall and potential yet.
You got that, Ramon.
So just one thing to mention quick, we were set to auto when we came into the screen. You know, if we were set to manual, it wouldn't have been pre-populated like this. But you see here, Sargent has 46% interest. We really want to build up his interest to get to that 50% so we can offer him a contract. Additionally, he and Cortez are only 20% scouted, so it would be nice to learn more about them. Again, on the signing big board, you can continue to scout these guys. It may affect how much I want to offer them as far as a bonus goes.
So we're going to sign somebody, or we're going to sim a week?
Well, we have 21 days until our signing deadline, so we have some time, but...
I'm going to take a shot at Mauricio off the hop here because if I don't sign him, I'll be heartbroken. So we'll jump in here to the offer contract. All right, back out of this tutorial. All right, so Mauricio, one thing we'll point out, you see MLB suggested draft pick slot value. Now he was drafted #4 overall, and that equates to a $7 million slot value. And like I'd mentioned a while back, those slot values, you add them up, that's the total bonus allotment, right? So that's how we get to $9.49 million. It's $7 million plus the slot values of all the other Rangers picks. So Vizcaino, he wants above slot, which worries me, and he's only 57% interest. And there is an effect in there. If you lowball a player and he declines your offer, there's potential that his interest in signing with you will decline, which might make it that much harder to sign him.
There's no guarantees, even in the signing process. No guarantees here like there was in the past.
And you see, as I start to really lowball Mauricio here, his interest in signing goes down. So where I'm barely past 50% here. So what do? Do I try and save some money for other prospects? Do I give him exactly slot or slightly above? You want to? Oh, okay.
So
your
one
first
thing,
we're gonna go for
top
it.
five
so
pick?
as Clayton came in, you saw that the slider was already way over to the right. The reason for that is you have the bonus allotment, and you're only allowed to exceed that bonus allotment if you've already signed other prospects and you have an additional bonus allotment left over. So he has very limited bonus allotment right now. He has his slot value plus the 5% that's tacked onto the total allotment. So that's why his max offer right now is $7.48 million. If he left him on the board maybe a couple more weeks, built some interest up, we might be able to get him a little cheaper.
Could have saved some money.
I normally would do that, but for the sake of the stream, I will do it now. Let's go for it, Mauricio. $7.48 million. Come on, buddy.
We signed him.
Oh, look at my boy. Love that beard. So here's a little payoff for signing him. We'll back out of here, and he's removed from the board. So I'm going to advance a week. I want to try and get Sargent. I want to get him up to above 50% so that I can essentially give him a lowball offer and get some money for other prospects. I'm going to remove Cortez.
As you see that Clayton's removing prospects off the list, you're seeing that interest is changing for the other remaining prospects. The fewer prospects you have on, it shows that you're focused on that prospect, so their interest goes up. It shows that the team is interested in you, and you're interested in the team. So when we got 2 players on the board versus 3 and versus 1, you'll see that there's a difference there.
This seems like a massive list from a logic standpoint under the hood to make all these changes happen.
There was so much going on that Tim and I can't even keep track of it. If we're honest, every day we're like, wait a second, how did that piece work? How did that piece work? We have to dive back in the notes, and it's been crazy, but we're definitely excited about it.
Phenomenal engineering.
So we're going to advance 3 days. You have 21 days from that point, like it said on the signing big board. Today is the day to sign draft picks, so let's do that. Jump back into sign draft picks. You can see here on the info panel, Mauricio Vizcaino. It gives a little shout out to my boy there. He's my top pick, so he'll always show up on that sign draft picks panel, but I've already signed him, so I don't have to worry about him at this point. So we'll jump in. Sargent's at 52% now.
He was at 46, so a little bump.
But it also looks like I think his draft rank went down a little bit, so he may not be as good as the 70-ish number that I think he was on the previous screen. But he's 52%. We can offer him a contract, but I don't think I can lowball him too much.
You can't.
I can't.
Limited.
Well, it's essentially for his slot value, it's 406,000, but because he's like wasn't ranked, he's kind of a nobody. He doesn't have high bonus demands, right? So we're at 304K. Wow, that's right around his. That is his bonus demand, and that's
Let's do
the
it.
lowest I can do. Let's see if he'll take it, because that'll save me 100K for other prospects.
Oh, denied.
Oh.
Now his interest didn't change, and because we offered him what his bonus demand was, so
Exactly.
he wasn't feeling like he was.
You're not valuing him.
He wants more.
That's the way that he feels. That's
Well,
not the way that
so
we feel.
if I had offered
ownership.
him, say, half of his, not that I could do that, but let's say 75% of his bonus demand, there's a potential that his interest level would have dropped here. But because I still, even though it was low for the slot, even though I offered him his exact bonus demand, his interest in signing with me didn't.
Nice. What's
down.
next?
All right, so I'm going to advance out of here. I wasn't able to sign Sargent, but I'm going to switch back to auto. Skip signing and set to auto, and then the signing deadline is August 1st. So let's sim ahead here. Trade deadline's coming up too, so there's a lot of action I'm going to button through.
And the game will still auto stop before you pass through those big milestone dates when you can't do anything anymore, correct?
So if you're set to auto, it's not going to force you to stop on those things.
It'll just
If you're on manual, it'll
stop.
pop
Okay.
up. So if you set to auto, we're assuming that you don't want to.
You don't care. Okay,
deal
gotcha.
with it. All right, so we've passed the signing deadline. We have a new screen now. It's the view draft pick screen.
So Ramon, you wanted to know?
Jump in
Want to
here.
know?
We're gonna see how good my scouts were and how good other scouts were on other teams. Let's jump in. So Mauricio, well, he got an 83 potential. A little bit low on the 80 to 90 range. So you can see that clearly his potential never falls right in the middle. We see Andres
varies.
Niev, 88 potential.
80 on
What
the
a
higher
pick.
side.
What a pick. Amazing. 77. My scouts look like they've done a decent job Cortez on the low side of the potential.
But we need to go look at the Cubs.
We need to look at the Cubs.
We need to look at the Cubs.
And we need to look at. We'll
and
jump
the
through
Tigers.
these. Let's see. So you see here, Dana McGrath, his potential is actually below his scouted potential.
Woo.
So the Mets got a bust there, but then they found kind of
They
a
got
diamond there.
they
With the
got
ninth
a
potential with
closer.
their third pick. So we'll keep going. See if there's any notable players here. Oh,
94.
94 later.
Third baseman?
Wow, what a diamond
Late
in
too,
the
late
rough.
pick.
Oh, man, the Nationals cleaned up.
Well, their third round pick, they got hosed. They got a 62 potential when the range was 71 to 84.
Bust.
They got a
But
bust
that
there.
starting
the top
pitcher.
2 picks, not bad. Not bad. Now the Cubs, Weinstein.
He was
he's
a
on
bust.
the low end.
He's on the
still
low
in the
end.
range, but I have a feeling that he actually was healthy, but we'll see. And then we're going to the Royals now.
And here you can see their true overalls too if you access the player card.
The Royals, Moya. Okay. So just remember, the injury doesn't always have a long-term effect. In this case, it obviously didn't because he fit into that. It's got a potential range.
Anything else you want to point out at this screen, at the view draft pick screen? Because this main screen here, it shows you who was right, who was wrong, how good was your scouting.
This is what I like to see. Astros with a first-round bust. 73 potential. I like to see that as a Rangers fan.
Wasn't a great draft at all. Look at that.
So this is the screen where you can go and look after the signing period for draft picks is over to see who was right, who was wrong, and what actual player ratings and potentials are before you get to the end of the season and everybody's thrown into the roster.
Correct. This is our way to check our scouts to make sure that they're doing their job and to see how accurate they were.
Let's find the best pick in the draft real quick since we're already here.
Let's go through. Let's look for the first couple picks. See how many more busts. we can
Ooh,
see.
90. 18 years old.
What does he
66
got?
Ooh, let's see what he's
overall.
got. What
Overall,
type of
It's 66
repertoire does he
overall.
have?
66 overall. Wow. Each draft class is unique. We've seen 95 to 99 potential players that are 70, 71 overall. So there's all kinds of potential here.
Nice.
Lopez was stolen from me.
It was stolen from you. Yeah, you
right
were right.
before my pick.
You were right.
I could
You were
have
right.
93 potential, 65 overall right fielder. Hello.
So
At
closing
19.
closing out the new draft process. Anything else you want to hit on?
No, I think speaking for Clayton and myself and the entire team, we're really proud of the work that we put in. We're excited for the community to get their hands on this and start playing the game. We think that they're going to really enjoy this feature and all the facets of it.
I'll say that I couldn't wait to actually talk about this because I know we had mentioned amateur draft, and I hope it's very clear at this point that this is scouting, this is player progression logic, this is draft day experience, this is signing logic, and there's all the, let's just say signing big board in the signing system, but there's all the logic that goes into there, and the CPU logic to sign, CPU logic to draft, everything. So there's so much under the hood that we basically didn't sleep for 3 months. I'm burnt out, but I'm excited about it.
But that's not it. You also had all the CBA changes, the Ohtani rule, full implementation, the new playoff format, the new draft lotteries in. The draft is now taking place around All-Star break like it's supposed to. You had AAA realignment. So much work has went into franchise mode, and that's
Trade
and March to October.
Yeah, remember it's cross both modes. There's also the trade logic improvements that we're very excited about. There's the roster tuning and the roster logic improvements as well. So
Yeah, we want to see your diamonds in the rough and who is going to draft the best players. We want to see that when the game comes out. Thank you, Clayton and Tim. Also, thank you to Kirby and to Drew and everybody who joined us for this very special feature premiere. We went over March to October, franchise mode, presentation, and commentary. Remember, you will see all of these features in these modes. Thank you. Until next time, we're out.